Alright everyone, Supreme Court deciding yesterday the eviction moratorium can stand, but there are a couple of caveats. The first caveat is actually, and this goes out partially to Anomaly, who completely twisted what this means. He thinks that this means that the eviction moratorium is permanent or something. The CDC issued last year an eviction moratorium, that is that landlords couldn't force renters that were delinquent in payments or whatever off their rental properties. Now, this is insane. Should never have been done in the first place, because what you're not understanding is that the plurality of landlords, not of commercial holdings as far as actual rental properties, but as far as the number of people that are engaged in renting out, a lot of it is people renting a room or two in their house. They've got like 1 or 2 units. These are small businesses or sole proprietors. When you think of renters, of renting and landlords, you think of like a development, like a condo development, an entire suburban community that's owned by some Indian foreign national company or something, or like BlackRock or something, multinationals. That's not the case though. They're definitely gobbling up a huge proportion of the market share though, because Beijing Biden has crippled the economy and COVID lockdownerism as well. That's certainly helping BlackRock, because they can get 0% interest loans, price everyone else out of the market, and then they can take over monopolistically, raising rent after a while, and then paying the loan back, because there's no interest on it, and there's no reason that they have to worry. They just make sure that the debt is kept somewhat down. Cut a few corners here and there, raise the rent by 5%, you're golden! And now, of course, people are screwed more and more out of owning or renting properties, renting it from someone that actually lives next door as opposed to in Taiwan. But here's what actually the decision means. Link in the description. I try to sum it up. And it's very, very simple. Kavanaugh and Roberts joined with the 3 other liberals on the court. I say that there are 4 liberals on the court. Roberts is one of them. I'm not surprised he joined the decision. The decision, all it does is 2 things. Number 1, it allows the moratorium to stand until it was expiring anyway, which is literally in 4 days. So they said, well, there's no compelling reason for us to end it early, because you've still got this sum of money and disbursed and all this aid from the federal government. Just let it take its course for the next few days, because that's really not an inconvenience on any landlord. It's within the same month, fiscally. It's not affecting anything. There's no reason for us to cut it short like fucking 5 days out. Number 2, if you read Kavanaugh's opinion, which assents to the majority, it's a 5-4 decision, with all 4 of the more principled conservatives, of course, standing against the moratorium being continued. The reason is this. He says, well, I mean, there's no compelling reason maybe to end it now, but the CDC definitely did overstep its authority. Essentially, what this decision will do is prevent bureaus from ever doing this again. This is a good decision. This actually solves the problem. The problem is that a bureau, acting extra legally, it does not have legislative authority. In fact, it doesn't have much authority over many things at all, unilaterally decided without any consent of Congress or without any decision by lawmakers to freeze evictions. But the thing is, that's not the sort of policy that's within their power, within their purview to make. The majority also declares this in the decision, and that's binding, which means that you've got a 2-part situation. The moratorium itself can stand, but only because it's basically gone anyway. In 4 days, literally, 4 days literally is, but they can't enact another one. So the CDC now can't let this lapse and a month later say, well, we got another rental crisis and COVID is surging, the Delta variant, oh, quick, we need another moratorium. They can't do it. Congress would have to do it. Now, what's the problem? What happens in Congress? You've got a 50-50 Senate. And I'm not sure that they'd be able to wiggle it in such a way that they'd be able to use reconciliation. I'm not sure that they'd actually be able to enact such a moratorium. So basically the idea is kaput. Further, in the midterms, after the Democrats get their asses handed to them, as I strongly believe that they will, based on especially the economy right now, if not the resurgence of scary COVID, after that, it'd be DOA if they wanted to try to do such a thing. The fact is, if you own a property, and this is the majority of landlords, not of property holdings, you got people like BlackRock probably has thousands of properties. But the majority of people that are renting, again, sole proprietors, it's a room, 2 rooms in their house, or a little suite, or a cottage or something. Or it's a small business thing. Yeah, I've got like, you know, a couple of apartment complexes. Yeah, I've got like 5 units that I rent. These people, if they're not making their rent, will eventually go bankrupt. They'd have to sell out to the big guys, which I think is the purpose. I think the whole purpose of the moratorium, it has nothing to do with preventing homelessness. It has nothing to do with preventing fiscal disaster. Really, it's an attempt to consolidate more power in the hands of a smaller number of very large companies, most of which are globally owned. They're not nationally in the United States at all, in order to concentrate more wealth in the hands of the truly wealthy, because they're trying to institute quasi-fascism. That's really what's happening. To be clear, the moratorium never should have been enacted, and the court found that it was illegal. Well, I don't think it's going to happen again. Essentially, this allows the appeals court ruling to stay in sway. SCOTUS isn't overruling the appeals court. I think it's 6th Circuit, I think, if I remember correctly, that found it unconstitutional for the CDC to do this. They're letting that stand. They're simply saying that they're not going to grant the hold that the plaintiffs wanted to prevent it from continuing to be in effect for the next less than a week. Well, I think that it's a small price to pay for knowing the CDC is never going to be able to fuck around in the rental market again. I see this as largely a winning decision. This isn't a bad thing, it's a good thing. But people with Trump derangement syndrome, of course, will say, well, Kavanaugh was the swing vote, as opposed to Roberts, maybe. Why can't it be Roberts who's the swing vote? So it's Bush's fault. No, it has to be Trump. Because big bad Kavanaugh, wow, he's standing in the way. He's a commie. He's supporting communism, which literally some people think understanding civics, I guess, actually is. By the way, he blocked me on Twitter. I thought that was funny. That's about all. Peace out.